Revealed. My son's heartwarming voice message for his wife exposed an incredible secret about me. In a small sleepy town called Oak Ridge, an ordinary Saturday morning was brewing into something extraordinary. Jake, with his bright blue eyes and uncontainable spirit, picked up his dad's phone, his fingers dancing across the screen. "Hey Mom," he chirped into the device. "Dad always says we can get through anything if we stick together." His innocent words filled with admiration poured from the speaker, unaware of the floodgates they were about to pry open. Tom, the humble mechanic, stood nearby, fixing a stubborn old engine, when he heard Jake's voice echo through the garage. His heart clenched. Memories rushed in uninvited, of a childhood marked by whispered insults and stares that stung. The laughter of classmates still rang in his ears, mocking his family's struggles. Yet he wore a smile for his boy, hiding away the shadows of his past as the town buzzed with excitement over the upcoming high school reunion. Tom's heart raced with bittersweet anticipation. The familiar faces of kids who once tormented him would re-emerge. He plastered a determined smile on his face. But when Jake exclaimed, "Dad is a hero," everything changed. The words hit Tom like a gut punch. He felt the weight of the past rising, threatening to swallow him whole. But in the thick of this emotional storm, Oak Ridge faced a graver challenge. The local factory announced its closure, leaving a cloud of uncertainty over their tight-knit community. The worries of neighbors seeped into Tom's bones, compelling him to act. "Listen up, everyone," he called out, gathering friends and families at the local diner. "We can't let this town fall apart." His voice rose, igniting sparks of hope. "We have to unite, just like I tell my kids. Together we can fight for our future." He inspired them with the values of hard work and integrity that he had drilled into Jake and Lily. The community began to rally, and for the first time in a long while, Tom felt needed. But then, amidst this awakening, confusion tripped him up at home. Jake, innocent as ever, mistakenly blamed Tom for the factory's failure. "Why didn't you fix it, Dad?" The sorrowful eyes of his son cut deep, twisting the knife of long-buried pain. Tom struggled to find the words, his chest tight. Was he the reason for their troubles too? Before he could respond, fate took its course. At a town meeting, an old voice from the back yelled out, "You don't belong up there." The crowd shifted. Tension crackled in the air. Tom felt their eyes boring into him. Whispers of the past surfaced. Questions about his character, sacrifices, and the weight of his upbringing loomed heavy. The audience teetered on a knife's edge. Could they see the strength he had forged in silence? "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the murmur of whispers grew louder, the town found itself at a crossroads, echoing with Jake's simple yet profound message. What truly defines a hero? Would Tom's past continue to haunt him, or could he transform it into a beacon of resilience? As his family drew closer, uncertainties lingered. Would they mend their bonds, or would the shadows of yesterday darken their future? They were left standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown together. The room fell silent. Tom felt every heartbeat like a drum echoing through his chest. Every eye was on him, the weight of them pressing down. "You don't belong up there," the voice had cut through the tension like a knife. Was it true? That nagging question pulled at him. "Who are you to speak for us?" he finally shouted back, surprising even himself. There it was, a flicker of defiance in the face of their accusations. The energy in the room shifted, uncertainty giving way to curiosity. People shifted in their seats, eyes wide, waiting for what he would say next. "I'm just a mechanic," Tom said, softer this time, his voice steady. "But I'm fighting for every one of you. For our families, for our homes. We're all in this together." As he looked around, he could see nods of agreement. Someone from the back called out, "We believe in you, Tom." And strangely, those words sparked something inside him, a tiny flame of hope. Stepping closer to the microphone, he continued, "I grew up in a town just like this one. I know what it feels like to be overlooked, to feel powerless. But I also know the strength of community. Memories of quieter times in Oak Ridge flooded his mind, filled with warmth from neighbors helping each other, laughter shared at backyard barbecues, and the resilience of people who believed better days were ahead. Jake's words rang in his ears, and he could feel the love he had for his son wrap around his heart like a shield. My son calls me a hero, but doesn't he know the battles I faced? He sees me as someone who can fix things. But let us be honest, he paused, scanning the crowd. I'm just trying to fix us. Tom's honesty cracked open a crack in the hardened shell of the townspeople. They had watched him struggle for years. They knew his story. Faces of his old classmates softened. Those who once scorned him now looked on with a mix of respect and understanding. The mayor stood silently, arms crossed, but even he was transfixed by Tom's heartfelt words. Let us not be defined by a factory. Let us create jobs together, startups, projects. Let us support our local businesses. We can build something that holds us all together. A loud cheer erupted. Tom's heart swelled. He felt something shift not just in the crowd but within himself. Maybe he had the power to change his narrative. Maybe he could finally reclaim his worth. The meeting concluded with the promise of a community action committee. As the people dispersed, friends patted Tom on the back, offering words of encouragement. Yet, even amidst this wave of solidarity, doubt still whispered in his mind. What if this was just a moment? At the diner, Lily was waiting, her face beaming with pride. Dad, you were amazing, she exclaimed. But the sincerity in her eyes turned to worry as she noticed the tension on his brow. Are you okay? Tom took a deep breath. I'm just worried. What if they don't believe in me? Lily shrugged, her spirit unyielding. Then let us show them, Dad. We can be the heroes of Oak Ridge. As they drove home, the sun set in a blaze of color on the horizon. The day's victory felt bittersweet. Was he enough? Later that night, as he lay in bed, sleep eluded him. The sounds of the town settling echoed around him. Questions buzzed in his mind. Could they really turn this around? And if they did, what kind of hero would he have to become? Little did he know fate was stirring again. As an unknown message blinked to life on his phone, a message that would unravel everything he thought he understood about himself and the community he cherished. Tom's phone buzzed loudly in the stillness of his room, jolting him from the spiral of anxious thoughts. He reached for the device, heart racing, unsure of what he would find. The screen lit up, illuminating the dark space, displaying an unknown number and a short message. Listen to this. A chill ran down his spine. He hesitated, the weight of the day still pressing heavily on his chest. What could possibly be waiting for him on the other side of this message? But curiosity urged him forward. He tapped the play button and Jake's voice crackled to life. Hey, Dad. This is kinda weird, but I really think you should hear what I have to say. Tom's heart ached a little. It was that sweet, earnest tone of his son that always tugged at his heartstrings. I know things are tough right now. With the town and everything. You're doing awesome by trying to get everyone together. Tom felt the swell of pride in his chest mixed with a hint of guilt. Was he really? Was he actually making progress? There was a pause and he could hear Jake breathing, gathering his thoughts. But Dad, I wanted to tell you something that might help. Remember when we used to talk about the old days, how you said people always stood together? Well, I've been talking to some friends and we came up with an idea for the town. Tom felt the color drain from his face. An idea? What could a bunch of teenagers know about saving Oak Ridge? Okay, so you know how you said we shouldn't depend on one factory? Well, we started a kind of club at school to brainstorm ways to bring new businesses to town. We've got some plans and I really want you to see what we came up with. Excitement welled up within Tom, battling against his doubts. He felt a glimmer of hope. Could his son really be onto something? Anyway, I just think, if we can show everyone that we're capable of something great, maybe they'll believe in you too. You're our hero, Dad. You've always told us to stand up for who we are. I hope you just keep going. The message ended abruptly, leaving Tom in stunned silence. His heart was pounding, echoing a mixture of pride and disbelief. The realization hit him hard. Jake had not just followed in his footsteps. He had taken the initiative. A teenager stepping up to lead the charge for their community. There was something powerful about that. For the first time since that tense town hall meeting, a smile crept onto Tom's face, and he could almost feel the weight lifting off his shoulders. Maybe he wasn't alone in all of this. Maybe everyone needed to be reminded they had the power to create change together. He jumped out of bed, determination coursing through him like newfound energy. Tom grabbed a notepad and began jotting down ideas for the club Jake had started. Vibrant sketches of potential businesses filled the pages as he envisioned a hopeful future for Oakridge, a town reborn through the creativity of its youngest minds. But as the night wore on and the waves of optimism crashed over him, another thought flickered in the back of his mind. What if there were hurdles ahead, the kind he hadn't anticipated? What if the response to Jake's idea wasn't as warm as he hoped? The phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't Jake. A text from an old acquaintance popped up, rekindling memories Tom would rather forget. The message wasn't just a simple check-in, it hinted at buried secrets that could pull the rug from under everything he was building. What had he done, and how would it affect them now? Tom felt that familiar anxiety resurface, battling hard against the flicker of hope ignited by his son's words. He stood still for a moment, the room thick with anticipation as he stared at the screen, the promise of a new beginning entwined with the weight of past choices. What new challenges awaited him now? Would they threaten to tear apart everything he was trying to rebuild? Or could he confront whatever shadows loomed over them? Determined, he took a deep breath, ready to face it all. Little did he know, the next chapter in his life was just beginning, and it would take all the strength from his family to bridge the gap between truth and hope. Tom's heart raced as he read the text again, each word twisting in his gut, forcing him to confront a truth he had long buried. In the quiet of his room, the shadows seemed to stretch, reminding him of choices he'd made once he would rather forget. He put the phone down, but the anxiety clung to him like a wet blanket. He paced the room, glancing out the window at the flickering streetlight beyond. Somewhere in Oakridge, people were waking up to a reality he had not been honest about. How could he rally them if he was still wrestling with his own demons? He craved connection yet felt the need to shield his family from his past mistakes. Tom took a deep breath and ran a hand through his hair, trying to clear the fog in his mind. Jake's voice echoed still, reminding him of hope and ambition. Was it fair to bring his son into this mess? Would exposing his past taint Jake's vision for their town? He couldn't stifle the warmth in his chest, the idea that his boy, his brave Jake, wanted to fight for their town. That was invaluable. Yet, just as fast, reality crashed back in. The text lingered. What if it was a harbinger of something darker? Would he be forced to disclose parts of himself that he longed to keep hidden? His stomach churned at the thought. Flashing back to the message, he remembered how Jake spoke about standing together. Maybe, just maybe, it would mean something different than he expected. Maybe he could invite Jake into the conversation about the town and his own struggles. With renewed resolve, he opened a digital folder on his laptop to revisit the community plans he had neglected. Words flowed freely as he typed. Ideas for fundraising, community gardens, and small businesses that could fill the gaps caused by the factory's decline. Tom felt electric. But amidst the excitement bubbled the uncertainty of that mysterious text. What if it contained the very thing that could slip through his fingers, the thin thread binding him to his family? His laptop chimed softly, diverting his focus. It was another text message. Hesitant, he swiped it open. This time it was from a fellow board member for the Community Development Committee. Hey Tom, we're meeting tomorrow at Mary's Cafe to discuss the new initiatives. We'd love for you to join. I think your ideas would be a huge boost. A flicker of hope warmed his chest. He could bring Jake's ideas and present them at the cafe. Maybe the community could bond over more than shared troubles. They could unite under a shared vision. Tom pictured the cafe, a little nook with mismatched chairs and the smell of fresh pastries. His heart lifted at the thought of laughter and ideas buzzing around the tables, spilling into the streets. Yet, the gnawing shadow of his past whispered warnings. Just when he thought he could turn a new leaf, it also reminded him that nothing was ever as simple as he wished it to be. With resolve, he typed back, "I'll be there." As he closed his laptop, a flicker of anxiety remained. What if the past came back to haunt him? What if the truth shattered everything he was trying to build? Every hope and every plan could be at risk, depending on what the next day would bring. His phone buzzed again, jolting him from his thoughts. This time it was an unknown number. Tom held his breath as he opened it, the screen lighting up with a message that could change everything. "We need to talk about what you did." He felt a chill dance down his spine. What had happened in his past, lurking just out of sight, ready to surface? Tom stared at the screen, the words blurring as panic set in. "We need to talk about what you did," the phrase echoed in his head, scratching at the surface of his carefully constructed life. His heart thudded against his ribs. Who had sent this? There was a part of him that wanted to ignore it, to let the silence of his past remain just that, silent. But he knew there was no escaping it now. He pressed the phone to his ear, his fingers trembling. "Who is this?" he demanded, but nothing came through the line except static. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on him, deeper with each passing second. He dropped the phone to his lap and raked a hand across his face, anxiety churning in his stomach. Tomorrow was meant to be a new beginning, a chance to collaborate with the community, to share Jake's dreams, but this dark cloud loomed over him. He leaned back against the chair, letting the cold wood bite into his back. Memories began to flood in dark and jagged pieces that he fought hard to forget. The loud sound of a door slamming pulled him back into the moment, and he glanced at the clock. It was getting late. He would need to face Jake soon, his boy bubbling with excitement for tomorrow's meeting. Would he see the storm brewing inside his father? Tom sighed, knowing he couldn't let this ruin Jake's dreams. "Dad?" Jake peered around the doorway, a toothbrush protruding from his mouth. The boy had a mess of curls tumbling over his forehead, and his eyes sparkled with enthusiasm, blissfully unaware of the turmoil swirling in Tom's mind. "Hey buddy," Tom managed, forcing a smile. "You're brushing your teeth pretty late tonight." "Yeah, I wanted to make sure I'm ready for tomorrow. I can't wait to share my ideas." Jake danced around the room, his energy contagious. That was the thing about Jake, his optimism was like a bright light piercing through Tom's shadows. It made everything feel a little bit lighter, yet deep down weight hung from Tom's heart like a ton of bricks. Uncertainty gnawed at him as he considered whether he should share his fears with Jake or maintain the facade. "Do you think we can really make a difference?" Jake asked, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand, determination etched across his face. Tom felt his throat tighten. "Of course we can, son. But it's going to take hard work and honesty." He hesitated, wondering how much honesty was too much. Could he expose the truth about his past without shattering that youthful spirit? Suddenly, the phone buzzed again, pulling Tom from his ruminations. It was another text, another intuition tugging at him. He quickly glanced down, heart pounding. It was the same unknown number. "Meet me at the old factory. We have a lot to discuss." The words shot through him like ice water. The factory, the very center of the town's struggles. Tom hadn't set foot in that place for years. He looked back at Jake, who was still buzzing with excitement. "Dad, I really believe in this. We can do it together." "Yeah, we can. We can," Tom echoed, but uncertainty suffocated his optimism. Jake continued on about his plans, but Tom's mind was elsewhere, calculating the risk of confronting his past versus supporting his son. "What if you're right?" he whispered, half to himself. "What if we could?" Tom took a deep breath, feeling the gravity of the moment. Did he have the courage to face whatever awaited him at the factory? Was he ready for what the truth might reveal, not just about himself, but about the father Jake believed he was? With his eyes on the sunrise beckoning beyond the horizon, Tom resolved to take the first step. But first, he would have to decide how to hold on to his son's dreams, while confronting the shadows lurking ahead. Would he be strong enough for both? He glanced at Jake, a smile breaking through the weight of his thoughts. "Let us go to bed, champ. Tomorrow's a big day." As he tucked Jake in, a chill washed over him. Tomorrow would decide so much more than just the town's fate. It would lay the groundwork for confronting truths that could change everything. And as Tom turned off the light, he whispered to himself, "Whatever happens, I'll be ready." But was he truly prepared for what lay ahead? He closed his eyes, feeling the darkness creep in once more. Morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow across the room. Tom blinked awake, heart racing, unsure if it was the anxiety from the looming meeting or the echo of his own thoughts that had pulled him from sleep. He felt the weight of responsibility settle on him like a heavy shroud. Today wasn't just about community projects or Jake's bright ideas. It was about facing a part of him he thought he had buried deep. With every step to the bathroom, a new wave of doubt washed over him. What would happen if the truth came out? Could he truly guide Jake with a past like his? He splashed water on his face, and in the mirror, he caught a glimpse of a man weathered by choices, scars visible but hidden beneath resolve. As he made his way back to Jake's room, he glanced at the clock. They were running late. He needed to pull it together. Jake was waiting eagerly, ready to take on the world. Tom pushed the thoughts aside and focused on his son. "Rise and shine, champ," he called, throwing the door open. Jake groaned but rolled over, his face a sleepy smile. "Dad, I'm excited. Can we have pancakes?" "Pancakes it is," Tom said, turning the morning into a small celebration. He whipped up the batter with care, enjoying the way the home filled with the nostalgia of weekends long gone. The sizzling sound of pancakes on the skillet drowned out his fears, if only for a moment. As they sat at the table, pancakes towering with syrup, laughter flowed between them, and for a moment everything felt right. "You know what we should do?" Jake said, eyes shining. "We should have the whole neighborhood join. It'll be like a huge party." Tom laughed, but something twisted in his gut. Would they even want him? The past loomed ever closer. An unwanted guest refusing to leave. "Sure, buddy. We can do anything," he said, forcing enthusiasm into his voice. Every bite felt heavier as the revelation clawed at him, the urgency of his appointment echoing louder than Jake's dreams. Moments later, they were rushing out the door, the factory looming in the distance, a specter of his past. As they drove, Tom's heart was already racing, his mind racing in a triage of hope and dread. "Dad?" Jake asked, breaking the silence. "Are you okay?" "Just thinking about everything," Tom replied, gripping the wheel tighter. Jake's tiny voice offered, "We're a team, right? No matter what?" Tom's heart swelled and broke at the same time. "Yeah, kiddo. A team." Despite the conviction in Jake's voice, fear gnawed at Tom. What if the truth tainted their bond? What if confronting the past destroyed everything? The unknown stretched before him like a dark tunnel, and in that moment, he desperately wished for a map to navigate through. Finally, they arrived at the old factory, half obscured by overgrown weeds and memories. It stood silent and familiar, yet ominous. Tom parked the car and just sat there, looking out the window. "Are you ready, Dad?" Jake asked, oblivious to the turmoil brewing inside. Tom inhaled deeply. "Yeah, I think so." He stepped out with Jake, the air thick with uncertainty. They walked toward the entrance together. But when Tom looked back, the sun seemed to hesitate behind the clouds, mirroring the trepidation in his heart. As they crossed the threshold, the shadows swallowed them whole. And there, in the silence of the abandoned factory, he heard footsteps. Someone was waiting for them. Would it be the person who might unravel all his carefully tied knots? Or would today forge a new path, one filled with hope instead of shadows? Tom's heart raced as he turned the corner. What awaited them would change everything. In the dim light of the factory, Tom felt a chill wrap around him, more suffocating than the silence. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering with the memories of laughter and camaraderie that used to echo through these halls. Now it felt like a tomb, an ending rather than a beginning. Jake tugged at his sleeve, eyes wide and innocent. "Dad, who's there?" Tom wanted to shield him from the truth, to protect him from the echoes of his past mistakes. But as he squinted against the shadows, he saw a figure materializing. A man he recognized all too well. "Tom." The voice was gravelly, grating at the edges like rusty metal. It was Noah, his old colleague, a face that carried the scars of shared history. Time hadn't changed much, except for the added lines around his eyes, hinting at burdens carried over the years. "Why are you here?" Tom's voice was almost a whisper, filled with trepidation. "I came to see you, to talk." Noah's gaze shifted to Jake, and Tom felt the protective instinct surge within him. He stepped forward, positioning himself between his son and the man who once shared in the very darkness Tom was trying to escape from. "About what?" Tom's heart thudded, pounding against his ribcage like a warning drum. "I know you want a clean slate, Tom, but you can't just erase the past. It's never that simple." Noah's tone wasn't accusatory. It was a mixture of sympathy and frustration, like he understood but had failed to let go himself. "I've worked hard to leave it behind," Tom shot back, feeling the threads of his resolve fraying. Jake looked between them, confusion etched on his face. "Dad, what is going on?" "Nothing, bud. Just a misunderstanding," Tom deflected, hoping to shield his son from the weight of adult insecurities. But Jake squirmed, sensing the tension. Are we still going to work on our project? Of course. Tom forced a smile, but it felt like a mask. Just a little bump in the road. He turned back to Noah. What do you want? They're coming, Tom. The people you think have forgotten you. The ones who will dig up what's buried. Tom's stomach churned. What do you mean? They want answers. They want the truth. Noah took a step closer, lowering his voice. You need to protect him. They'll come after Jake too. You know how it works. Cold fear washed over Tom, mixing with raging anger. You think I'll ever let that happen? I don't know, Noah said, vulnerability creeping into his voice. But if they feed off you, they'll reach him. You have to choose, Tom. Fight or run, but you can't pretend it doesn't exist. Heart pounding, Tom realized the shadows weren't just hiding memories. They were remnants of failures that could spell disaster. And Jake, his laughter and dreams, was at the center of it. Dad? Jake asked again, his voice trembling, pulling Tom back from the precipice of despair. Yeah, I'm here. He turned to his son, battling the turmoil within. How could he assure Jake that everything would be okay when he himself was spiraling into uncertainty? The air crackled with tension, revealing the fracture lines in both men. I can't lose him, Tom finally whispered, betrayal and desperation mingling as he watched Noah's expression soften. Noah shrugged, the heaviness of their shared history hanging between them like an unresolved issue. Then you'll have to face it together. Do it for him. As Jake turned his wide eyes up to Tom, filled with trust, Tom felt a glimmer of resolve ignite within him. He would not let darkness claim another part of his family. But as they stepped further into the belly of the beast, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was waiting in the wings, ready to make that fight 1,000 times harder. A sudden noise echoed through the factory. A door creaked open behind them, throwing a shaft of light into the darkness. The silhouette of a woman appeared, one he recognized all too well from a past he thought he had closed. Tom, is that you? Her voice sliced through the air, sending chills down his spine. Had the ghosts of his past truly returned to haunt him? And what secrets might she hold that could destroy everything he was fighting to build? The woman stepped fully into the light, her features sharp and familiar. Lila. A name that had once held so much weight in Tom's life, a fragile thread connecting him to moments he'd rather forget. Their eyes locked, and he felt a jolt of recognition, like a surge of electricity sparking through air thick with tension. Lila, what are you doing here? His voice trembled slightly, fear lacing his words. Confusion and anger whirled inside him as he recalled the past. The late-night talks, the shared dreams, and the brutal end that had left scars much deeper than skin. She studied his face, her expression unreadable. I came to find you, Tom. I had to warn you. Warn me? He held his ground, protecting his son instinctively, as if shielding Jake from her very presence. There's something happening. Things are changing and fast, Lila continued, her urgency slicing through his defenses. I thought you should know. Jake tugged at Tom's arm, looking back and forth between his dad and the intruding figure. Dad, who is she? Tom knelt down to his son's level, forcing a smile despite the tension curling in his gut. Just an old friend, bud. Nothing to worry about. But it was a lie, one that twisted in the air as thick as smoke. He felt the anxious tug of Jake's innocent gaze pulling at him. What do you mean changing? Tom pressed, refusing to glance at his son while Lila stood there sparking memories he'd buried. The people looking for you, they're more dangerous than you realize, she said. It's not just some old ghosts. They're here now and they won't stop until they get what they want. Tom's heart raced, the implications crashing over him like waves. What do they want? To unearth the truth, she whispered. Her eyes flicked to Jake, once more, vulnerability creeping in. And that includes your son, whether you believe it or not. No. Tom's voice erupted unrestrained, making Jake jump. You don't bring him into this. He is not part of this nightmare. But Lila stepped closer, her demeanor shifting from urgency to empathy. Tom, you don't understand. They believe you have something to hide. Something that can tear your family apart. No. He shook his head vehemently, grasping for control. I fought too hard for this. I won't lose him to your past or mine. Lila searched his face, desperation etching deep lines across her brow. Then help me help you. We need to figure this out together for him. Tom stood there, torn apart by the weight of her words. He wanted to scream, wanted to run and hide. But Jake's curious gaze kept him anchored. His world had to remain standing, not shattering with secrets and lies. "Dad?" Jake whispered, his voice trembling. "I'm okay, buddy," Tom said, but the uncertainty clawed at him. "Are you sure? She seems scary." "Trust me, Jake. You don't need to be afraid." Lila took a step back, her eyes softening at the sight of them. "I won't hurt him, I promise. I made mistakes. Just like you." "Stop," Tom interrupted. "No more talk of mistakes, no more dragging his son through their mess. What do you want from me?" "You need to prepare yourself," she said, her intensity pulling him in. "This darkness won't leave without a fight. The past has claws and it's going to come after everything you love if you don't face it now." He could feel her words coursing through him like venom. Unsettling but true. Suddenly, he was inundated with visions of everything he had worked so hard to protect. Tom took a deep breath, looking at Jake, then back at Lila. "What do I have to do?" "Find the answers," she urged, a flicker of hope beneath her resolve. "They're buried deeper than you think. Together we can dig them up." But time is running out. The threat hung heavily in the air. What if she was right? "Dad," Jake's small voice brought him back. "Are we going to be all right?" Tom's heart ached at the innocence laced in his son's words. "We will be." But inside, he felt the grip of fear clenching around his heart. Lila opened her mouth to say something more, but before she could, a loud crash erupted from the other end of the factory, startling all three of them. "Stay close," Tom barked, adrenaline sharpening his senses. In that moment, the past and present collided, and his choices began to unravel like cords pulled tight, prompting a desperate question. Could he untangle them before the darkness consumed them all? Lila's voice unnerved him as he grasped Jake's hand, each of them teetering on the brink. A moment of truth approached, and it had the power to change everything. What lay ahead might just force him to confront old ghosts he wasn't ready to face. The echo of the crash faded into a tense silence that wrapped around them like an icy shroud. Tom's heart pounded in his chest, each beat reminding him of the stakes. Jake clutched his hand tighter, his small fingers trembling. "Tom," Lila whispered, her voice barely audible, "we need to get out of here." He nodded slowly, breaking his gaze away from her to scan their surroundings. Shadows danced along the factory walls, the remnants of abandoned machinery looming like forgotten giants. The air felt charged, thick with the possibility of danger. "Dad, what is happening?" Jake's voice was small, a stark contrast to the chaos brewing around them. Tom knelt again, meeting his son's wide, worried eyes. "Just a little bump in the road, buddy. We'll sort it out, I promise." Yet, he could see the doubt lingering in Jake's expression. Before he could stand, another sound shattered the illusion of safety. Footsteps, heavy and purposeful, drawing closer. Tom's pulse quickened. Lila's face tightened, eyes darting to the shadows. "Run," she urged, her voice urgent but low. With a swift motion, Tom grabbed Jake and pulled him behind an old conveyor belt. Creaked under their weight, but he didn't care. He kept his body in front of Jake's, desperate to shield him from whatever was lurking in the darkness. "What is happening, Dad?" Jake repeated, a mix of confusion and fear in his voice. Tom swallowed hard. "Just stay quiet, Jake. We'll be okay." But inside, panic tightened its grip. What was he really protecting his son from? Lila crouched low beside them, her expression a blend of determination and fear. "They're not far behind," she said, her breath steadying as she tried to mask the urgency coursing through them. "I can't let anything happen to him," Tom murmured, more to himself than to her. His resolve cemented. He couldn't afford to let the past swallow them whole. Then, a figure stepped into the dim light, silhouetted against the distant glow of a flickering bulb. It was a man tall and imposing, with a presence that radiated menace. "Lila!" he shouted, a voice as gravelly as the floor beneath Tom's feet. "You can't hide forever." Tom's heart sank as he recognized the authority in the voice. It belonged to someone from their past, someone who didn't care who got caught in the crossfire. "We have to move now," he said urgently. "Can you distract him?" Lila nodded, determination hardening her features. "You get Jake to safety. I'll handle this." "No way," Tom said firm. "I'm not leaving you. Please, Tom. If things go sideways, get him away. He's the most important thing in this world." Her eyes shone with a fierce fire, igniting a spark of hope in Tom. Just then the man stepped closer, illuminating the area with the light of his phone. His gaze swept over the room until it landed straight on them. The sudden fear in that instant pushed Tom into action. "Jake, hold tight to my hand. We're going to run," he whispered. He counted in his head and, in one fluid motion, took off, pulling Jake close as they dashed through the hazy air. But as they moved, Lila shouted back, "Tom, trust me." For a moment doubt flickered in Tom's mind. Could he really leave her? The past had a way of twisting loyalties, and he was terrified of what the future might hold. But Jake's small hand clung to his, pressing him forward. "Dad, please." The urgency in Jake's voice pushed Tom out of his own head. He sprinted forward, adrenaline guiding their escape. They rounded a corner just as the man reached the conveyor belt, a sound of confusion echoing behind them. "Stay close," Tom urged again, his heart racing not just from fear, but from a surprising realization. It was all starting to unravel. The answers weren't just buried within secrets. They were beginning to come to light with every step he took. Freedom and danger danced hand in hand. But just as they neared the exit, another crash rang out, followed by a terrifying shout. "Get them!" Tom gripped Jake's hand tighter, adrenaline pumping through his veins. They had to get out, and they had to do it fast. Could the very shadows of his past truly haunt him, or was there a way to reshape their fate and stand together? The exit loomed ahead, but the shadows behind them weren't done yet. And as the sounds of pursuit echoed, the question lingered. Would they escape unscathed, or was this just the beginning of something darker? Tom raced towards the exit, every muscle in his body straining as he fought against the suffocating weight of his past. Jake, small and brave, was urging him onward. "We have to move, Dad. They're coming." The panic in his boy's voice fueled Tom's resolve. He glanced over his shoulder, adrenaline coursing through him as the shadows threatened to close in. "Hold on tight, buddy," he shouted, squeezing Jake's hand. Together, they bolted through the crumbling archway, the light blinding after the oppressive darkness of the factory. The outside air whipped against their faces, cool and liberating. Tom could see the open road ahead, freedom beckoning like a long-lost friend. Just as they made it outside, shouts echoed from behind them, a chorus of voices driven by rage and desperation. Tom's heart pounded in his chest, roaring in his ears like a freight train. "Run! Keep running!" he urged, pushing Jake forward, their feet pounding against the gravel as they reached the edge of the lot. Tom spotted Lila darting behind the metallic shadows of the abandoned factory. Her expression was fierce, determination blazing in her eyes as she called out, "Get to the car. I'll hold them off." Tom hesitated, torn between leaving her and getting Jake to safety. But he understood now, she was right. "Go, Jake," he shouted. "I've got to help her." "Dad," Jake whimpered, fear flashing across his innocent face, but Tom didn't have time to explain. He knew he had to do this. "Just run to the car. I'll be right behind you, I promise." Tom turned back toward the chaos, heart racing. Lila faced the shadows of their past, her defiance shining brightly against the dark. "Tom, go," she yelled again. His heart ached watching her stand firm, but he dove back into the fray, unwilling to abandon her to the storm. "I'm not leaving you," he called out, determined to shield her from the rising tide of fury that forced its way into his life once again. Slowly, he approached, positioning himself beside her. "This wasn't just me. You know the truth too," he shouted at the dark figure advancing from the depths of the factory. "You can't pin this all on me." The man halted, an ugly smile twisting his lips. "But I can expose you, Tom. All the mistakes, all the lies. You think you've built a new life? You're wrong." "No." Tom's voice cut through the noise. "Everything I've built is for my son. You can't take that away." For a moment he felt light, an invincible force radiating within him. Memories of all the hardships, the pain, the success he fought for surged to the surface. The laughter of neighbors, the love of family, the dreams sparked by Jake's ideals, it was all worth every battle he encountered. "I'm not that man anymore," Tom declared, stepping forward with confidence now grounding him. "And you will not take my family or my future." Lila shot a look of stunned pride in Tom's direction. That flicker of unity reignited something deeper, a shared strength battling the darkness. Caught off guard, the man stumbled slightly, Is that so? As if driven by instinct, Lila struck first, her actions fierce. You think you can intimidate him? You don't know the strength of this family. With that, Tom's heart ignited. He took a step forward, driven by the power of belief, the truth that had been buried for too long. We are ready to face whatever comes. Together. More footsteps thundered from within the factory, shadows pouring out with disorganized chaos. Run! Lila cried out again, her voice now equal parts urgency and determination. Tom's eyes widened. He darted beside Jake, who stood, eyes wide with confusion and fear. Jake, I need you to trust me. This is not just a race, this is our fight. We face it together. Finally freed from the confines of his past, Tom crouched down on one knee, eyes locking with his son's. You are so strong and we are not alone. This town, our family, together we can create a future we desire. Remember what you told me? Tears flooded Jake's eyes, understanding lighting up his expression amidst fear. We're a team no matter what. Exactly. Tom stood tall, taking Jake's hand. Time to show them what we're made of. The chase was on again, but this time the fear morphed into a fierce fire. Each step propelled them further into an uncertain but hopeful future, one that Tom knew they would carve out side by side. As they flew past the edge of the abandoned lot, a new voice broke through the air, a community rallying, friends and neighbors who had heard the commotion. The moments of camaraderie fired the hope coursing through Tom and Jake's veins. A gathering, a movement beyond just Tom's personal struggle. They were no longer alone. The collective solidarity of Oak Ridge surged forward, empowering them amidst the darkness. Let us go, Tom shouted, feeling renewed strength bolster his every step. The past would not shape their future any longer. They raced into the arms of their family, the vitality of Oak Ridge behind them as a cacophony of cheers erupted. Their voices blended, reverberating with encouragement and strength, weaving a tapestry of resilience against the fierce backdrop of their shared history. And in that moment, Tom knew the future was brighter than the shadows that once loomed ahead. They would discover together what it truly meant to fight for hope, for dreams, and for each other. With a heart full of determination, Tom whispered to Jake, together, always. As they reached the warmth of their community, they could feel it, the power of unity, and it was just the beginning. Their story was one of transformation, of love and strength rising from the ashes of their past, a reminder that everyone could become a hero one determined step at a time, and every shared laugh, every moment of hope, they were ready for what was next. Together they would build a future that would stand firm against any storm. And now, dear audience, you need to subscribe immediately to be part of these incredible journeys. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending, let your voices be heard. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Together, let us continue to inspire change and strength, side by side.